Starting our live stream, and I'm going to start presenting my screen. We have a ton of updates today, so I'm going to make my opening comments nice and quick. But welcome everyone. Please feel free to say hello in our chat. Let us know where you're joining us from today. And yeah, welcome to today's town hall. So as always, we are recording the event and we are live streaming. So if you get disconnected at any point, feel free to go over to our YouTube channel. You can see it there on the slides. As always, we're going to start off with a few product updates from ourselves, and then we'll move into the Q&A portion of the event. If you have any questions throughout the session, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom. You can type in your questions there. We have a couple of people on our team replying to questions in the chat. And then at the end of the session, we will allow you to raise your hand to come on stage, ask a question. If you want to raise your hand, you can use the reaction button at the bottom, and in there, there's a raise hand button. So I'm going to give just a quick update from myself, from the marketing team. So this is something I'm obviously calling out on every town hall at the moment. We are leading up to our own event that we're doing in October. We're doing a bit of a roadshow across the US. So just want to flag this again. If you want to come out and see the Hospitable team at one of these cities, we're hosting an event at a brewery in Orlando, Atlanta, Austin, and LA. And with a couple of our partner companies there as well. Great opportunity to come and meet us, but also to come and meet hosts from the local community, really kind of share ideas, share feedback with us, and have a beer, have some food. So hopefully we can see some of you there. But moving on now to talk about connectivity. Sam.
Thank you, Miles, and hello, everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Sam. I am the Director of Engineering here at Hospitable, and I'm based over in a currently very grey United Kingdom. I've actually been with Hospitable for over 5 years, but I think regular attendees probably know I don't often make an appearance, and Pierre said that I needed to do a proper introduction. But that's because the town hall is usually when I'm having dinner with my family, and Pierre actually refuses to move the town hall for me, and he puts our customers first. Can you believe that? I'm going to kick things off with some of the work we've been doing on the connectivity side of things, and I'll start off with Agoda. So for a little bit of context, who is Agoda? So it's probably not going to be a household name for our US based customers, but Agoda is the leading booking channel in the APAC region, so Asia Pacific. And they're part of Booking Holdings Group. So Booking Holdings operate Booking.com, Kayak, and a few other hospitality platforms as well. Booking.com is also one of the other top channels in APAC as well, if you want a sense of the scale of Booking Holdings. And Agoda have over 4.2 million hotels and properties on their platform. But again, their kind of primary focus is a little bit more towards the APAC region currently. Although we may have some reason to believe that they might be moving some of their share of operations to the US as well, maybe a little bit more focus over that way. So we've been working pretty hard, albeit we've been pretty quiet about it. But we've been working on a new integration with Agoda. And so, yeah, we're basically the integration that we have today is going to work in the same manner as the other OTA connections that we have. If you've got existing listings on Agoda, we can import those listings. And then you can merge them with your other OTA listings into Hospitable properties and manage those through Hospitable as normal. So we're going to be rolling out a private pilot in the next couple of weeks. If you've got listings on Agoda, we are looking to work with you. And yeah, you can scan that QR code or go to the short code on the slide there and register interest for the private pilot. So that's going to be the next couple of weeks. As the pilot is completed, obviously we'll be making sure that everything works as expected, rolling out new features. But yeah, right now it's looking really, really good. We're able to do kind of all that standard Hospitable goodness, reservations, messaging guests, blocking calendars on other OTAs. Yeah, and it's gonna operate just like any other OTA channel. So super exciting. Next couple of weeks, register your interest for that private pilot. That's going to be exciting. That's our first update on connectivity, and I'll just yield to PC for a couple of other updates next.
Thank you, Sam, and a pleasure to have you here. This time there is going to be some jokes about your accent. There is plenty of updates to share on connectivity. Actually, every single larger OTA is going to be talked about. And I have an important update regarding Airbnb, an exciting update. Whenever we're thinking about a connectivity partner, we have a little bit of a dream, and that is that they're working the same persona that we do, which are really aiming for hosts that have maybe up to 7 properties and are currently not tapped into software, where they have big bloated software products that don't really resonate well with the problems that they're facing as a host. Our dream connectivity partner is a company that is working on reducing friction and allowing software partners to do their job without impacting negatively the user experience on those booking platforms. I think it comes from a position of respect. If you have been using booking platform, you know how it works. You don't want to have to relearn everything while you have to reconfigure another software product. It's also a product that's offering full feature parity, both for the software vendor if they want to, but also is not going to create an artificial bottleneck on that software vendor, on that property management software that has to implement those features. And I think since we started, especially talking with Airbnb about that vision, they've really been ramping up. And I think they adhere deep down with that same philosophy. They progressively built just that. They have created a new integration scope that allowed Hospitable first, but also many other software vendors to be integrating with Airbnb without being a PMS. And among the software vendors that you guys are using, you can name Turno, you can name Price Labs, that have been benefiting from the advocating work that we've been doing as well for our own customers. They have also progressively, and that's really in the past few years, reduced the scope of what a property management integration actually mean to its essence, and that's going to be managing availability. They also are the only one so far, and we hope they're going to be joined by other booking platforms that are able to match the API and the UX. Now, sometimes there is a bit of a delay on the API, but the idea is that as they're releasing new features, they release that across all of their user base, over all the hosts, whether they're software connected or not. And that means software vendors, software providers, property management software can work on differentiation and ease of use and their user experience, rather than basically being forced to implement features because they just have to. And I think that's a win for hosts, that's a win for guests ultimately, that's a win for vendors and booking platform altogether, because they can work on their features without creating a bottleneck and a terrible experience on one side or the other. Now, we're lucky is that now the property management integration that is currently being offered by Airbnb is now very compelling, and that means we are working now on a reintegration of sorts. The word reintegration means a lot of bad things, but I can assure you the experience is not going to change in any way, and we're still going to be working very hard on Airbnb to achieve that final vision of being a PMS in a light touch and being able to do everything that we can to grow our customer base with Airbnb, and to grow the customer base, the scope of the integration with Airbnb altogether. It's also important is that starting from October, your availability will only be managed either from a PMS, be it Hospitable or somebody else, or Airbnb. And that's one of the things that we are currently under current integration will not be capable of doing and maintaining over time. So October is a good time, but October is a good timing for us. But at the same time, we were leaning on getting to a proper official PMS integration in any case. So what does this integration will be unlocking for you? You are going to be able to have access to a few more features that we currently were not able to tap into, of really with an unsatisfactory success rate compared with the integration we would like to achieve. What that's going to mean is that with working with a PMS like Hospitable is going to have the greatest authority on your calendar, especially on managing availability. As we seek to expand into more integration and more connectivity partners, that does mean we're going to need to make sure that your Airbnb calendar is staying in sync from other booking platforms. There are also a lot of popular requests, like accepting, sending alterations that we'll be able to achieve for good now under Airbnb Airbnb a lot of features, a long tail of features that currently are very tricky for us to be operating on with limited support. So that's really is probably what's going to make a biggest difference on your experience. It's not the features that are going to happen, but simply the tooling, the support, and simply the control that you also as host will be having on what Hospitable will be capable of doing. So we're very excited about this upcoming new integration as a property management software technically, which aligns with what we've been working on with Agoda or Booking.com, for example. Now, there are some customers, sometimes they are also on the calls, that are using Hospitable in addition to another PMS. And that's basically is a use case that was very popular because some PMS do not have an inbox, do not have a subpar messaging automation, and maybe recently do not have as much AI features as you would like it to have. So we are often being used as a complement to a PMS to bridge a gap in terms of messaging and communication features. We want to honor the deal, and we are working with Airbnb to make sure that there's not going to be any change to integration. So that means there's not going to be a change to Hospitable integration. There's not going to be a change to other PMS integration. However, you will still be able to do everything that you are using us to do, such as messaging or messaging automation, AI, everything. However, there is going to be one major restriction on usage of Hospitable, which I believe makes sense to the people that are using a PMS, and that is that you are not going to be able to use our calendar on Hospitable to update the availability, because we will no longer be able to honor that availability to Airbnb in particular. So there are going to be some upcoming restrictions. Those are going to be, we're hoping to make those as limited as possible, so that if you are using another PMS on top of Hospitable, then you will be able to keep doing that without changing anything to your workflow. To be fair, those that are using a PMS know extremely well, because they're briefed as part of their onboardings, that you cannot adjust your availability and other things outside of the PMS. And now we're going to be able to have an integration that we would like to have with Hospitable with Airbnb, as Airbnb is adjusting the PMS paradigm altogether. So this is an icebreaker. We don't want to make that hard and have an avalanche of information coming your way whenever that's basically going to be happening. So this is just an opportunity to tell you that this is going to happen. We'll communicate about it in upcoming weeks, because there is a lot of questions that you're asking yourselves, and there is a lot that we want to say about how that PMS integration will be working. And similar to what you heard from Sam before, there's going to be a private pilot specifically for the property management software integration scope with Airbnb. That's going to be starting now in 3 weeks. So yeah, this time next month, where we are going to be asking for customers that want to test this out so that they can help us shape the precise inner workings of that PMS integration to be working with us closely, so that we can make sure we are releasing something absolutely bulletproof and we'll do nothing else. Considering the gigantic scope of Airbnb to our users. So we'll stay in touch on Airbnb. There probably should be a slide there saying don't panic. Instead, we have the next slide, which is Vrbo. Really enjoying myself here. So Vrbo, there is another connectivity update out there. So just for highlights, we have just under 130,000 Vrbo listings. That's the number of listings that are today connected to Hospitable. That represents more than 6% listing share, so to speak, in terms of unique listings. We just reused the public number for Vrbo listing, which is over 2 million. We kept it at, we divided that number by 2 million. You can check the math. I hope that Vrbo has a lot more listings and that they have not reported publicly, because that number is probably pretty alarming to me. But that gives you an idea of the scale of working with our Vrbo integration can possibly represent, is that we would be the largest PMS by quite some margin to be integrated with Vrbo. We've been advocating for hosts, ultimately, I believe also for guests, on making, and for Vrbo, quite frankly, to make sure that there is going to be a great integration that will be worked for Hospitable and for the customers altogether. One of the biggest blocker, or the biggest risk of an integration with Vrbo is the fact that with an existing integration, host needs to be doing their own payment processing. And that means taking on all the liability attached with that, such as chargebacks, which is a massive piece of work. And we realize that ourselves and know that very well because we are the merchant of record for Hospitable, and that's under direct premium. So we've been working, communicating very closely with Vrbo to be advocating for that, and at the same time, really educate that as with Hospitable, you can work really with hosts, not just the large property management company. So Vrbo is working on major upgrade of their integrations for property management software. That's going to be coming to an end sometime in 2025. Unfortunately, the timeline that we receive is very broad. But however, we believe that there is a strong incentive for Vrbo to be doing so. So there's there's a very high confidence that this will happen. And Vrbo is going to be processing payments not just for transactions that are from hosts and property managers that don't use a channel management software or property management software, but also for software connected hosts, which I believe is removing the biggest friction on Vrbo and Vrbo's connectivity. There will also be major updates to the existing APIs. That means that we will work with the new Vrbo connection. That means you can expect that we will be able to manage the full content calendar messaging through Hospitable. As you know today, with a friction that's going to be reduced. I was working as a PMS because all the payments will be processed by Vrbo directly. We love to have a choice. We don't like whenever hosts have to change their behavior altogether. Doing the payment processing is a massive hurdle. And so Vrbo doing the payments themselves is basically aligning with a lot of best practices I find that are more host friendly. So the timeline for that release is still very open because it's reliant on that Vrbo payments development. So basically, that's going to be Q1 to Q3 2025. We are going to be obviously sharing that with you whenever we have something that we can share publicly. And we'll be obviously working closely with the team at Vrbo to make sure that this is heading in the right direction for host. Now we're going to revert back to Sam, and we have also some exciting updates about our integration with Booking.com.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Twice in one town hall, you lucky guys. Behind the scenes for Booking.com, we've been working pretty closely with the partnership team, and kind of discussing with them some of the most effective ways we can improve and expand on our connection. And so part of these discussions are how can we work with Booking.com to gain more market share in the US. And how do we do that? So a couple of ways, and there's a few slides that we'll go through here, but distribution is going to be a big one. So Booking.com is not our most connected OTA. Don't know how much of a surprise that might be, but we can look to improve that and change that. So a couple of different ways we can get hosts onto Booking.com, onto the platform, finding the quickest path to actually make that happen. Or if you've got a listing on Booking.com already, how can we optimize that listing and actually deliver more high quality bookings? So those are some of the things that we're working with the Booking.com team to actually improve on. And next slide, Miles. Thank you. So we're also working to support more features. Booking.com has the kind of the core feature set that we want, but there's more we can do. Guest reviews is something that should be a pretty easy lift for us. This is something that we support in Airbnb, and this is being able to see those guest reviews, see the reviews that guests have left you on a reservation, and then also being able to reply to that guest review as well. And some of those features are starting to use some of the AI things that we've rolled out as well. Becoming I think I don't know if this is a good term or not, but like a system of record for content, for property details and for photos. This is something that we kind of do already for our direct offering, right? We have all that content, we can apply it to those direct booking websites. And so we can become that system of record and manage the content, property details, photos on Hospitable and push them up to your Booking.com listings as well. And Booking.com have actually shared that properties with the highest content score get up to 18% more bookings than other properties. So focusing on content is actually fantastic, and it's going to help you get more bookings, more high quality bookings as well. And thank you, Miles. So I did pull some numbers together very quickly just before the town hall, and looking at May 2024. We actually have quite a large merchant of record opportunity with Booking.com. So we know just from some kind of checking of our data that in May we had 1,213 reservations where we could have been the merchant of record for those payments. That's what Pierre was talking a little bit earlier about, kind of Vrbo. But with Booking.com, we have that opportunity, and that's a total of $387,000 worth of revenue where we could have been that merchant of record, collect that revenue on behalf of hosts, which is pretty cool, quite interesting to kind of see those numbers, and ultimately. That just leads kind of Hospitable towards aiming for what Booking.com refer to as like premier partner status. That's their kind of top level partner status, and that's the crown that you get for achieving that. And we're aiming for April 2025 to be able to achieve that. So I think that's quite ambitious, but we've got all the tools in place to be able to do that. And speaking of tools, we've been working, I guess, over the last couple of weeks to add more structure to our engineering team. Our engineering team is growing. We're still hiring, and as we kind of hire more people, we just need a little bit of organization. And we're actually projected to be an engineering team of around 21 folks by the end of the year. And so over the last 2 weeks, one of the things we've done is define what we're referring to internally as a connectivity team, defining who is in that team, what that team does, what their priority is. And the connectivity team is prioritizing everything related to OTA connections, Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, GVR, Agoda. So everything related to those connections. And their focus is the stability and expansion of those connections. So we now have a dedicated team to kind of prioritize the work on that. And we've always had engineers who work on these items, but we've never really defined who or what bucket those items fall into. So that's what we've been kind of organizing and putting in structure in place on the engineering team. So they're going to be able to provide us some solutions. I mentioned before Booking.com Premier Partner status. That could be preferred partner status with Airbnb. And then also, expanding the use of those connections as well. And that could be any number of features we talked about with Booking.com there, for example, that system of record for your content, and just making it generally more easier to manage your properties across OTAs. Could you just go back? Sorry, actually, Miles. Sorry. So just calling that out. So I don't know how many people have spoken to Costin. So Costin has been with us for quite a while now. He's a very, very silent partner on the engineering team. He's absolutely fantastic. Has a ton of knowledge on connectivity. Dimitri has more recently joined us. And we've got a new hire, hopefully starting in August, called Hakan. And that's going to be the 3 people on that team. Very exciting. Thank you, Miles. So just a quick recap. So Agoda, private pilot, the short codes, the short URLs there again, for the initial integration, private pilot for Agoda. We've got Vrbo launching sometime 2025, somewhere between Q1 and Q3, hopefully, with those new modern APIs. Airbnb, private pilot on the expansion, short URL is there again. And Booking.com focusing more on becoming that seamless connectivity partner by April 2025. So just to kind of finish up here a little bit, we put together this kind of like visual grouping. So internally, just kind of discussing how we can group our OTA connections. And basically, this is like a today quality assessment of those connections. and when it comes to connectivity. And this should kind of give you some insights as well about where we want to go and how we can focus on improving those connections as well. So level 1, that's kind of where we're at with the majority of our OTA connections. We require you to have the listing presence on the OTA already. We kind of import that in, and once it's imported, we can manage your reservations, messaging, calendar, all that kind of good stuff. Level 2 is where it starts to get a little bit more interesting, and Hospitable can help there with distribution, creating those listings on the OTAs, managing settings, content across all the channels, like I said before, that system of record. And we do this today for our direct offering, as well as Google Vacation Rentals, GVR. We are the one that distributes that information out to GVR, and so they are technically classed as a level 2. And that kind of distribution, it's we talked before about Booking.com expanding that market share within the US. So a lot of people have that listing on Airbnb already, and how can we help you distribute that property better? How can we, can we get you onto Booking.com in one click? The likely answer there is yes, I would hope. And helping with that distribution, that's where we see that level 2. And then level 3, much tighter integration, where we look at items like payment processing. We mentioned Booking.com there again as well. We can potentially look at being the merchant of record for Booking.com. And obviously that's something that we're already doing for direct as well, where we are the merchant of record and we control everything. So level 3 is our direct integration right now. And hopefully we can get a few more channels, OTAs moved up the levels and have some deeper integrations. All pretty exciting. And that's it for me. I'll hand you over to Nick.
Thanks, Sam. That was a lot, and there's a lot still to come, so I'll keep it brief. First, a note on some recent improvements that we've shipped. So in the inbox, whenever you're pressing Suggest with AI to have the AI generate a message for you, that's what we mean by Suggest with AI whenever we talk about it here. A few things rolled out. One is a tweak to how the AI chooses which language to craft the message in. So we rolled out some changes about a month ago where the AI kind of intelligently decides what language to use, because you might be actually conversing with the guest in a specific language that it didn't start in, right? But there's a scenario where this kind of falls apart, which is when you haven't yet messaged the guest and it starts using the guest's own language, which you might not actually understand. But the summary is that the fallback language setting in your Hospitable account is what will be used in those situations where it's a brand new conversation. And so that should kind of alleviate those cases where a wrong language is being used. Another change in Suggest with AI. So now the crafted messages are better aware of what state the booking or inquiry is in, whether it's a booking request or it's already been accepted, if it's been canceled, and so on. And that should prevent those cases where, for example, it's an inquiry, but then the AI message ends with, hope you enjoy your stay, which is kind of irrelevant, obviously, because they haven't yet finalized their booking. And then in AI guest summaries, so it's been there for now some time and it's working pretty well, but we went in and made a few more changes to tweak it to focus a lot more on actionable insights, meaning what you can actually do to make sure that the guest has a better experience rather than telling you about like what they like in general. Here's what you should focus on, which is the latest tweak that we've made. So let us know how that looks to you with the new guest insights that you'll be seeing from today onwards. And sorry, Miles, one more thing before that. So speaking of guest summaries, something that's kind of obvious in hindsight, but starting from today, the actual guest summaries that have been generated by AI, those will also be used as context by the Suggest with AI feature. So the AI crafted messages will also be using the guest summaries to make the messages potentially more relevant to making the guest experience even better for that guest. Okay, now we can continue. Thanks, Miles. An ongoing project is the Knowledge Hub in Properties. Quick reminder, if you've not seen this before, Knowledge Hub is our way, at least initially, to give more context, more information to the AI to make the messages more accurate, more relevant. And we do this by allowing you to add information such as guidebooks, policy manuals, and so on into the Knowledge Hub. And we've been working with a small pilot group initially to test this out. And we started with a PDF upload process where you might already have a PDF guidebook that you share with guests, and you're able to just upload this into the Knowledge Hub. And it starts using it for AI responses. We're slowly ramping this up as we're finding more and more things where we need to make tweaks. But one of the points of feedback that we've heard is, yeah, you really want to know how the Knowledge Hub will directly interact with a particular thing that a guest might be asking. And so we're building in a kind of sandbox or like a testing interface within the Knowledge Hub where you can ask a question or even just some keywords and see what parts of the Knowledge Hub react to that, meaning what the AI will use to answer that query. And I think that will help to kind of test on your side how well that works. So you can look forward to that if you're part of the pilot group. And speaking of, yeah, we're rolling this out to more and more hosts in the coming days. And one more thing about the Property Knowledge Hub, something I'm very excited to talk about right now. So we already have an integration with TouchStay. TouchStay provides the ability for you to manage beautiful and highly interactive guidebook experiences for your guests. What we're going to be doing is making that a two-way integration, meaning that your guidebooks on TouchStay can be imported with just one click into the Knowledge Hub for the AI to use for more accurate messages. We're working on making this as seamless as possible. Because of the existing integration, that means that you will only really have to do one action, which is authorize your TouchStay account with Hospitable. That's really one copy-paste action, and that's it. After that, everything's automatically handled for you, and it should just work, air quotes. Yeah, this is currently in active development, and we will be reporting on that closer to launch in the coming basically couple of weeks. Really exciting. And I think that's it from me on AI, because there's a lot more to come from Andrew.
Cool. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, I have some fun updates to share. I think that the topic du jour is payment terms for us. We're still in the process of rolling them out, but we're pretty far along. So I think at the last town hall, we were at 1/3 of direct premium beta hosts that had access to payment terms. Now all premium hosts have access, and all beta direct basic hosts have access to payment terms. What that means is if you're in the direct area of Hospitable, you'll no longer see a cancellation policy in that side menu. You'll see a booking policy, and that booking policy will be updated to match your payment terms that your guest would see to your cancellation policy. So we try to only collect the payments when they become non-refundable, which especially for direct basic is going to help you optimize on any money you would lose to interchange fees when you give a refund. So that's what we recommend as a setting. You can change that if you like. You can change to custom terms. You can turn it off if you don't want to use payment terms, but you might want to see this data before you turn them off. So just looking in the few days that this has been on, and it's still a partial rollout, we're already seeing close to 15% of bookings have payment terms. We're offering them on any booking that is over $500. And if your cancellation policy has refundable checkpoints, that is the requirement. We can't offer payment terms if you have a non-refundable policy. There's no way for us to protect your non-refundable policy unless we collect all the money. So just a heads up, you might want to check on your cancellation policy. When payment terms are offered to the guest, so far, I mean, this is still pretty early data, but we're seeing almost 2/3 of guests are choosing to pay in installments rather than pay all up front, of course, especially with interest rates the way they are. This is a pretty obvious one. And then what we're seeing on the overall impact is that right now, as of about an hour before this town hall started, we have $300,000 in scheduled payments. That means that we've saved your guests $300,000 from being on their credit card balance, from being moved out of an interest-bearing account, etc. That's a nice impact. there's some portion of those bookings that would not have happened if we weren't offering payment terms. So that's pretty encouraging in the first few days of the impact. And what we're also seeing, this is a pretty fun graph, is the value of reservations is moving up. And so all the blue dots are the average and the median, daily value of our bookings across all bookings, and it's hovering, just a little under $1,000 probably. And then if we look at payment terms reservations, and this is a little bit selective, we'll show you probably purple dots in the future of what all bookings is. The hypothesis was always that our average booking amount would move up as we enable guests to make larger bookings with payment terms. But this is already really cool. So we'll have a median value for the day. We already hit close to $7,000 in bookings. We've seen some big ones. I saw a $13,000 direct basic reservation come in, I think today. A few $15,000 reservations where the guest did not have to pay all up front. Again, on some of these lead times that are like a year in advance. So yeah, that's been really great to see the impact of that. And I encourage you, if you haven't yet, to make sure that your cancellation policy would allow that. Moving on. Tennessee taxes, no big update here. It's still rolling in. So I just checked the balance account of all the taxes that we no longer pass through to you, and that's probably going to hit close to $15,000 by the end of the month of money that you won't have to deal with and file and everything like that. So we're going to save you time on those. This has all been super double checked, triple checked to make sure this is going to all work out well once August rolls around and we actually file these. And then the next steps, Miles, is to move on. So yeah, we're not able to comment exactly where we're going to be moving on to next. As soon as we are able to ensure that we've got a successful filing for Tennessee, the month of August will be a registration drive. And we've talked about this before. We're basically looking at it opportunistically. Where is the biggest impact with the least amount of effort on our side so we can really maximize the value we provide? And we'll be making a lot more updates on that, specifically where in August as we start to roll that out. So stay tuned if you're in other areas. Staying on taxes for direct basic, this was something that was missing for a long time, but we never had the ability to kind of have the concept of midterm taxes for direct basic. If you're familiar with this concept, obviously sales and lodging taxes aren't something you would pay on like rent. And so once you are in that category of no longer being a short-term rental, this varies in every state. It varies sometimes by the tax type. You might have two different thresholds. On direct basic, you're responsible for managing your taxes, so you need to figure that out. But you now have a length of stay parameter, so you can go into your taxes and make sure that those get removed if you have a 30-day stay limit, right? And then after that, if they stay 31 days, they would no longer need to pay lodging tax. That's a big deal. You can now update those here, and we'll sync them in all your quotes and your Google Vacation Rentals, etc. Update to highlight for any direct premium user that is on our legacy plan. So all of our new customers now on the pricing tiers, they're already on this new 4% guest fee plus 3% host fee. This replaces the 6% plus $10 fee. That was always confusing. I think it made a lot harder for us to explain direct. For a number of reasons. One, because there was a fixed fee, which didn't make sense, especially on smaller bookings. It added up to more than 7%. And it didn't work like Airbnb, where you had this kind of mix of a 3% host fee and then a 14% guest fee. So I think this makes it easier to compare, easier to understand. And what we're also doing at the same time is allowing you to switch to a host-only fee. So if you want to hide those fees from being presented to the guest, you can choose, once this goes live on August 1st, to make those host-only fees and then adjust your markup rates. We'll be adjusting everyone by default to 4% guest fee plus 3% host fee. We'll also be adjusting on your behalf your markup rates to add an additional 3% to whatever you have there, so there's no impact to your actual payout. So we'll do that for you. And then on your option, you can go to the booking policy manager and decide if you want to do the 7%. And then you would be expected at that point to also update your markup rates, so you don't have any impact on your payout again. Almost done here. Ongoing work with the guest portal. This is stuff we're doing for this project with the auto host, being able to do kind of ad hoc guest verification from the inbox. That project actually has some renewed relevance, I think, with what we're doing on the Airbnb side, what Pierre was talking about. With the PMS integration, you are going to be on an instant book setting. And there might be more times, I think, where you might want to investigate who this guest is that you've just instant booked. And if you did want to argue for perhaps a cancellation because you don't feel comfortable with the guest, this is exactly the kind of integration that would give you the evidence that you could go to Airbnb with and say, hey, this guest is refusing to, comply with my guest vetting requirement, or this is the information that was turned up in a background check or a sex offender check that would allow you to get out of a reservation you didn't want to take because you had good evidence and you wouldn't have to pay a penalty for those. So that's just a side note there. But yeah, this is a project that is coming close to completion. We'll be starting a private pilot of these ad hoc guest vetting. And part of that is, getting the guest portal to work with all other channels and embedding the rental agreements, which are still only available to beta users. We're going to get them all integrated with the guest portal for all channels and then bring them out of beta so everybody can have rental agreements for all bookings, not just direct bookings. And last slide for me. Otherwise, we should have Apple Pay and Google Pay added soon to the payment methods. We had an engineer starting on a big round of site improvements. So these are the Hospitable sites. Also some projects with anyone on a self-hosted site as far as like tracking performance, tracking conversions. We're going to be working on single property sites. If you only have one property on direct, we're going to make a special version of each template for that, and a number of other improvements to sites that we've been talking about for a while, but are only kind of just getting to those improvements now. And then, midterm bookings was always the kind of phase 2 of payment terms. For those people that book longer than 30 days, we want them to be able to pay in recurring payments. We want them to be able to pay by a direct debit so they can avoid some of those interchange fees, et cetera. There's a lot of neat features in that project for midterm bookings. And that's all I will say on that. Emily?
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. All right, I've just got a quick update, which is good because we're running out of time. So I'll try to be quick, but still explain these things and leave some time for questions at the end. So first, Amy, Angela, I see you guys have asked some questions about owner statements. So here's a quick update on that. We are still in private pilot right now. As we do when we go to private pilot, we're often going to private pilot with what we're considering an MVP. We think this is going to work for a lot of people, but know that we're going to have to iterate before it works for everyone. And so we've identified a handful of things that we really do need to finish before we move forward with launching this to everyone as a part of our mogul plan. And so this work is in progress now. It's very, very close to finishing up. I think we're just days away from being able to release this to those in private pilot. And a quick recap of what those are. We will soon be allowing platform-specific commission rates to be configured. Right now, when we have commission rates on the accommodation, it's just across the board, but we've heard from a lot of hosts that they want to charge a little bit more for a direct booking because you put more marketing money into getting those direct bookings. The same applies to flat rate fees. You can do something similar. You can say that if I get a direct booking, I want to charge $20 flat rate to my owner to cover some of those additional costs. Similarly, and another kind of more granular setting we're going to be allowing is guest fee commission. Right now, we allow you to collect commission on all of the guest fees, but we'll be allowing you to pick and choose which guest fees you want to collect commission on and identify like what that percentage is. A lot of what we've heard is that, yes, I do take commission on my guest fees, but not the cleaning fee. So you might want to set your 25% commission to apply to everything except the cleaning fee, because that's something that you're considering is just like something you hang on to for a second before you pass through to your cleaner, and you don't want to take any money off the top of that. Editing commission rates is another thing we're working on so that those people in private pilot can go back and make these changes to the rates that they've configured. And once this is done, we want to bring on another small cohort of private pilot users so we can start testing the stuff out from the beginning. So this is your chance. If you're interested in participating in owner statement private pilot, please go in the chat, select host. Do not send this to everybody. Select host and panelist, and you can send us your email that you use to log into Hospitable. And once we have this stuff shipped, I'll reach out to you and get you onboarded onto owner statements. Just to set expectations, the idea is that you'll be able to participate in this private pilot for no additional cost, at least to be able to generate a statement. And then when we do release our mogul plan, you will have the option at that time to choose whether you want to keep it and upgrade, or whether you want to stay on the current plan that you're on today. So more updates coming there. If you want to do the pilot, shoot us a message in the chat. A couple of other things we'll be working on, probably, I don't know, we might wait till mogul plan is out, but there's a couple of other tweaks that are a little bit more advanced, and that's specifically surrounding revenue recognition. There's a lot of different ways that people go about this. They're not all correct. Some are more correct, but they're not all wrong either. It's really up to preference and your relationship with the owners and how you want to display this. We're going to be allowing you to define how you account for your revenue on the owner statements. So you might be able to say, like, I want my accommodation to be prorated, meaning I want, the first 3 days is in January, so I want that revenue to show my January statement, but the next 4 days is in February, so I want that to show in February. You'll be able to define that. And then similarly, you'll be able to define when you want to recognize like other stuff. So like, when do you recognize your revenue for the fees or for the taxes or whatever it may be? And also built into all that will be accounting for alterations to make sure that if you do decide to recognize your accommodation based on the check-in date and the reservation is altered and ends up bleeding into the future month, that we'll make sure that you're accounting for that appropriately on the statements. This is super complicated stuff. And our private pilot hosts have been awesome at giving really, really great feedback to make sure that we're building this right and that we're going to release a feature that you guys are, that's able to save you guys a lot of time in the future. So our long-term plan is to launch our mogul plan next month, August. It's almost here. And that will be inclusive of owner statements. So yes, that's it. Okay, next, let's see some financials updates. So we've talked before about a big financial reconciliation project that we've been doing, and we had completed that work for almost all of the OTAs, and we just completed the work for booking.com as well. So now we are done. What this means is that a data point means the same thing regardless of where the financials comes from. So if we say accommodation, it means the nightly rate, the sum of the nightly rates from all OTAs. Now, this was important to do because actually the way that OTAs communicate those financials to us is quite different and can be made up of a bunch of different things. And so we had to make a decision that we're going to align what we're calling these things across all OTAs so that you guys don't have to keep track of like, oh, Airbnb includes this in accommodation, but Vrbo doesn't. You don't have to worry about that anymore. We're accounting for all of that for you, and it's displayed nice and clearly in your the sidebar when you're having a conversation with your guest. We have rerun the financials on all the historical booking.com reservations, so you can expect that is now updated even for bookings that have already passed before we made this update. And then up next, related to financials, we're going to be making some improvements to how we show expected payouts for direct booking requests. Right now, nothing is showing, and we will soon be showing you what you can expect to make from that request so that you have an easy way to decide if you want to accept it or not. And then we're also looking at how to show future payments. So if you have a direct booking with payments in the future, maybe we might even be able to do this with Vrbo multiple payments. We're going to take a look at that and focus there up next. And last but not least, a smart locks update for you. You can now generate static codes on locks that don't require guest access. So if you have a smart lock on like a cleaning closet or a storage shed or something like that, and you don't want that lock to match with the lock with the code that's given to the guest, you can uncheck guest access and we'll stop generating codes for that, but you can still set it in your device dashboard and see when it's used and all that stuff. So you can go in and edit previously matched locks and uncheck guest access if it's for something like a cleaning closet. All right, pass it back to Miles.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Emily. Okay, we're going to end it there with the slides and leave a little bit of room for Q&A. So remember, folks, if you do have a question you'd like to ask, if you go down to the bottom, use the React button. There is a raise hand functionality in there. That'll let us know you want to come on stage to ask a question. And I see Emily would like to come on stage. So Emily, I'm inviting you up. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can indeed.
Okay, great. I've got two quick questions. On a previous town hall, I thought that I remembered you guys saying that we should now be able to review or view a guest's review before it got published. Is that correct, or am I making that up?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna answer and speak very slowly so there's no controversy in the chat. There's no way that happens. There is no way that, for example, Airbnb will be sharing with us an early copy or the double blind copy of the guest review.
Okay.
So no,
I might
you
have just
can.
been dreaming then.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that would be a nice feature. That's called
And
hacking.
then,
Uh,
I mean, it was pretty realistic. So, okay, my second question is, will there ever be a way to enable the bad review feature before the review window starts? Like if I have somebody that's going to be there for 2 weeks, and I can just tell they've been having a bad experience, but I'm going to have to wait, that 2 week window until they check out. And then remember, I've got mine set to 48 hours. My review gets released. I have to remember within that 48 hour to go toggle that on. So do you guys ever plan to make that available sooner?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of a big project. We built the original feature to the Airbnb specs, and because of that, we don't get a technical term, but the review object until that window opens. So what we need to do is refactor that. And what Sam mentioned early on in the first part of this presentation is that we're going to start taking on more capabilities with the OTAs as well. So when we want to do this for Booking.com, at that time we will have to refactor our review system, and what that will allow us to do is not only do reviews for Booking.com, but it'll also allow us to kind of be able to control that object ourselves, and therefore we will be able to do what you're talking about. And at any time during that booking, then you'd be able to say, hey, I don't feel good about this. Let's go ahead and flag this for a late review, and let me
Yeah.
edit the content before you send it.
Okay,
And
sounds good.
I think Andrew is totally right on when that's going to happen. This is going to be a strong motivation to redo a little bit of the engineering on that. I think ultimately we really want to analyze you clicking buttons and how bad that is, especially on such a critical interaction. So all the work that, for example, is being done under AI to be able to adjust the copy of the messages, we can also very well think that we can flag proactively that there is a conversation. Technical term would be that gives us a bad vibe, and basically flagging and having some specific logic for the review there so that we can be extra cautious about having an automated review being sent when we believe that you probably will want to exercise a greater level of scrutiny over that review for that specific conversation for that specific guest. And I think that's where we're leaning for, if that makes sense. Now I'm super
Yes.
vulnerable on AI for reviews.
Okay, awesome. That would be super.
Thank you, Emily.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Awesome. Inviting Anthony on stage next. Hello.
Hello, Anthony.
Hey guys, how you doing? Hope your summer's all right.
Doing good. Am I going to
Awesome.
argue with you today?
No, not. I'm curious, and it may already be capable. It's probably this is an Andrew question. With direct basic, can payment terms be? We're collecting the payment. Can you direct them to do it via ACH versus, credit card?
Yes. Not today, but we've already been talking to vendors about this. Probably going to make a selection quite soon. And yeah, we've always had that as part of the midterm kind of functionality, but it also makes sense for any booking really that has a long enough lead time for those kind of gaps in making an ACH or a SEPA direct debit payment work. So yeah, we want to make it work with like a pay by bank functionality. If you've looked at like what Plaid does, we don't want to do, I mean, if you look at the old way of doing ACH payments, right? Like you have all of the danger of the guest misentering their routing number or their account number and then having to do those micro deposits to verify that it's the right one. Like that is way too much friction for a guest to choose. But what the pay by bank would let us do is just have someone sign into their online banking securely to enable the Plaid app. That would allow us to, one, validate their bank account balance, that it's big enough to make that payment, and then two, capture that the accounting and routing details we need for direct debit, pass that to the payment processor, and then do that. And we'd probably consider giving the guest a discount for that, to encourage them to do that, because obviously that would save you potentially hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on a very large transaction to avoid all your interchange fees, and basically have that 25 cents payment processing cost plus the pay by bank cost. So it would be game changing for that. And obviously on a midterm booking, it's you have a lot more time to kind of build the trust with the guest and give them the time to switch from maybe a credit card on the initial transaction, but rolling into pay by bank, because they'll save as well if we give them kind of a monetary incentive. Does that answer your question?
It does. Is there any timelines that you can share on that? Right now, and I'll preface this with saying that right now, so when we have some high value bookings that I don't really want to pay 3% on, I've done, instead of sending them the direct booking, I've done the manual booking, and then I have a template already created that I drop a Stripe link in and direct them how to do the ACH through Stripe, since obviously we have our own Stripe since we're direct basic at this point. That's worked. I prefer to use the great stuff that you guys have built for that. But if it's not ready, obviously I couldn't do it that way. And
it's not ready today, but it's part of the midterm bookings that we are starting to work on now. So it's really hard to say a precise timeline, but I think this is probably like a 2 to 3 month project overall for all midterm booking things. So recurring payments, monthly prices on your site, making sure that all the taxes for midterm bookings work well, all those things. That's probably a 2 or 3 month project for us, including this ACH payments.
Would that be also available for non-midterm bookings?
Like I said, I think it makes sense for anything. We'd probably set a lead time threshold, and as long as it's over that threshold, then we would offer that as another option, and also probably offer some kind of a discount based on the size of the booking to entice those users to do that.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. Second question I have is there a capability to turn off the notification for AI review replies?
AI review replies.
That's probably not that's not you.
It's I'd need to check to be 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's not a separate notification setting. But you feel like you're getting spammed by those. That's why you're asking this.
Yeah, I mean, we use our kind of unread read as a trigger for some actions, and we don't, as a current rule, we just don't reply to reviews. We leave a review, they leave a review. We don't do the whole reply thing at this point, and I'd like to have that off so it's not showing as an unread in our inbox.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're talking about purely it's surfacing in the inbox, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna make a note of that. Let's see if I can do just a quick win on that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. And then last thing is a shout out. And I may have missed it on a town hall that I didn't attend, but I saw it in a story. But notifications for when a guest uses their code to log in, saying that they've arrived, huge. Love it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should drop a link to the story that you guys posted whatever days ago, because that's super cool. So now I don't really need to worry about the separate app of our smart devices to show that a guest has arrived at the property. And before I was checking actually to see if the device code was used in the devices tab, but that's obviously super manual and then annoying too. Getting that notification, having the ability to get that notification and control it was really awesome. Thank you guys.
And the next step is to make a messaging rule that works on that event, right? So you welcome them to your place in a non-creepy way, totally non-creepy.
Yeah, No, love it. Love
Suggest
it.
a little bit of a delay.
Yes, no, very cool. Good heads up. That's it for me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Anthony.
Cool. So we'll try and squeeze in a few more people. We might have to go over time just by a couple of minutes. Jacques, I'm inviting you on stage next. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can
Hello,
indeed.
Jack.
Great. Thanks so much for letting me chime in. So, I had a quick usability suggestion for the inbox, if I may. So, if you're in the inbox and you tap on the little three dots to open up that little reservation details flyout, whenever I want to pause a message, I have to click on the little pink edit button, and it pops up this pop-up, and I click on delete, and it pauses that message, right? But whenever I go back to the flyout, the strikeout doesn't appear immediately. I have to exit back to the inbox and go back into that message to see the confirmation that that message has indeed been deleted. So it would be great if that confirmation would appear visibly, so I don't have to do all that back and forth to confirm that it was deleted.
I will pass this feedback on to Ben, who's our lead front end. I think it's just a delay in just re-pulling down that information after you've taken action. I'll make a note and we'll get that fixed. Sounds like a little bit of a usability issue.
Awesome, thank you. The last thing I'll say about that is maybe the word pause would be better than delete, because that indicates that you can always unpause that message. Because when you say delete, at first I was thinking, okay, if I delete this message, will I ever get it back? Is it permanently gone? So if you use the word pause, that more clearly indicates what's actually happening in the user experience.
Yeah, that might be true. That might also be like an engineering thing as well. Maybe the engineers chose that word because that's probably something we actually do under the hood, and we regenerate. So to bring that back, we probably regenerate that message. So yeah, maybe engineers chose that button naming. We'll take a look at that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Jack.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And next up, we have Paresh. Hello, Paresh.
Hey, thank you, Miles. Hi, Pierre and Hospitable team. Firstly, great product. One of the greatest town hall that I've ever seen. I've not seen so much of transparency in any of the companies, but you guys are really nice. My quick question, and this is very specific to the region that I'm in. My name is Parish. I'm based out of India. I asked this question in the Q&A, but I have not received a response. I see that you guys are integrated with Airbnb, Booking, and Vrbo. My twofold question is, A, are you planning to integrate with other OTAs as well? For example, not limited to, let's say, a Make My Trip or a goaibibo.com, which has, STRs on their platform, number one. And number two, the platform that you're building on, which is evolving and which is turning out to be a really great product, does this cater to small boutique hotels as well, which need not be individual homes or short-term rental homes, but it could be, let's say, a bed and breakfast of 4 to 6 hotel rooms, and there could be chain of hotels. Does the platform cater to those kind of users or audience as well? And the third question in this one is, in case if it is, do you integrate with other payment methods like UPI, which is very predominant over here? I hope I have not asked too much.
Sam?
I can answer question 2. That's the one I remember. So for question 2, I've lost my train of thought completely. I'm sorry.
That was question 2 was.
You want to talk about Agoda, Sam?
Do I want to talk about Agoda again? Who wants to talk about Agoda again?
Yeah, why not?
I've completely forgot the question. I said I remembered it, and I've
Which other OTAs are being?
Okay, I'll repeat myself quickly. Number one, is there any other OTA other than Booking.com, Vrbo, or Airbnb that you're integrating with? For example, MakeMyTrip.com or GoIbibo.com, because this is very specific to, let's say, a region like India, but not restricted just to that OTA. Number one. Number two, the platform that you're built, does this cater to small hotel chains as well, which need not be independent houses or short-term rentals, but it could be, let's say, a 4 to 6 bed or 4 to 6 room hotel chains. And number 3 would be on the payment side, which is, around UPI.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. So for number 2, in relation to kind of boutique hotels, we can do. There is a small restriction though, right? Is that we don't support. So when it comes to a platform like Booking.com, Booking.com supports the hotel setup, and they do that by like rooms to sell is like the internal kind of term for that. So that's saying that you have one listing essentially with multiple rooms to sell. That's not a concept that we support. So we support essentially one listing is one property, and then you can advertise that, right? So if you're talking about these small boutique hotels, then yeah, absolutely, but they have to be individual listings. They can't be a listing with multiple rooms to sell. Does that make sense from the hotel point of view?
Well, yeah, okay. Because what I see is even if it is individual properties, let's say if the individual property has 4 rooms, they are advertised as 4 rooms and not as the whole property as whole. Every region has a different consumer preferences. I was speaking from my consumer preference. But yeah, what you say makes sense as well.
Yeah. So it's that we don't support that hotel setup where you would have a room and then you would have multiple of the same room. For us, it's like a listing. So that the Booking.com's terminology is very much geared to hotels, but obviously we tend to deal with those kind of listings. So if you have an individual room and it's a room that you can separately rent out, great. But then it has to be. It can't have one room that has multiple versions of that room that you can sell. So it has to be one room to sell for an individual listing. So if you can set that up on Booking.com or other OTAs, then great. In terms of rolling out to other OTAs, yeah. So as we talked about earlier, starting to have some integration with Agoda. That'll be rolling out in the next 2 weeks. We're doing a private pilot with Agoda.
Agoda, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that private pilot will be starting in the next couple of weeks. And that's also, Agoda is definitely very big in the APAC region, especially. And we've got that private pilot starting. Yeah.
We've got several other channel integrations in Featurebase. So I think that would be the best thing you can do to try and see how much interest there is within our user base for Make My Trip or the other site that you mentioned. I think TripAdvisor is the most upvoted feature request on there. And we have tried our darndest. I don't know if anyone's home at that company, but I really have, I've reached, I think, my rate limit for our Gmail inbox for the amount of times I've reached out to them, including going to London and asking if they are home. Sometimes it's not always possible. Personally, on the direct side, we are looking for the next GVR. So there's a couple different companies we're talking to who can give us lead gen to your direct booking site so you can continue to get really high performance payouts for your reservations. So yeah, there are active explorations on other OTA channels. And the best place you can do to suggest them to us and get upvotes is to go to the intercom, kind of the chat service in the bottom right of Hospitable. There's an option in the menu to do a feature request. And you can add that there and encourage your other Hospitable host friends to upvote your feature.
And directly to feedback.hospitable.com, where you can see all of that list of feature requests.
But then you have to log in.
You don't have to log in.
No, not to see it, but to upvote and to add feature requests.
Well, to identify you so that we can reach out to you whenever we're working on it and we're launching and having an update to share.
Okay. Thank you very much, Parash, for your questions.
Thanks, guys.
Sorry for making you repeat them twice.
There's a little bit of harassment happening on Sam on the Slack channel because we actually have very friendly people that are just. I'm not going to pull it on Shifra. That's what it was cute. Okay. Do we have one last person, or we have
one last person? So let's squeeze on. Hopefully, it's a short one.
Yes.
It's welcoming you on stage now. Hello.
Hello. How can we help you? You can unmute
really
yourself.
Quick. There we go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. How can we help you?
I actually posted on Q&A and someone answered my question, but it's around AI also, where, somebody has an inquiry about booking and asking me a question about how far is this from that other place. And then instead the AI just sent a message saying, like the generic message. So I would like to be able to have control with that because it's kind of looks silly. Instead of answering question, I just tell them to book immediately. So it's kind of weird. Do you have any suggestion on that?
So yeah, I did answer you in the Q&A as well. There's a couple of things that I want to kind of touch on. There's a very simple answer, but there's like a bit more context around it that I want to give. One is I actually hear this quite often from hosts, in that like the AI offers something and like this is wrong. Well, clearly yes, you know what the right answer is. So yeah, that's wrong. But at the same time, yeah, like don't feel pressured to use that. Obviously, like that's a suggestion for you. And right now, it won't always be great. We're working heavily on making it great most of the time. But so yeah, so to everyone listening, feel free to use the Suggest with AI feature in the inbox to get suggestions. You don't have to use them if they don't work for you. In fact, you can retry them, because chances are you'll get a slightly different one that might be more suitable for you. But to answer your question specifically, so the Knowledge Hub project that I talked about earlier, that is one of the initiatives that we're focused on to help solve that problem, where you give the AI more context for a wide spectrum of questions that it can answer more accurately. In your case, if you know that there are amenities or shops or something nearby that hosts often ask about, you would be able to add that as some sort of information tidbit in the Knowledge Hub, and the AI can know to rely on that in future answers. So that's coming soon. And what I answered to you in the Q&A is, yeah, if you have a guidebook already, whether that's TouchStay or a PDF, you can either leave your email to hosts and panelists here, and I'll reach out to you, or I'll probably find you on our support system in any case. So you can start trying that out as well. And that applies not just to you, Bean, but to everyone listening. Yeah, please do reach out if you want to be part of any of these great upcoming features. Hopefully that helps. Short summary answer, the Knowledge Hub feature will help with that, and it's being rolled out to more and more people.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks for the question, and thanks for answering, Nick. Okay, I think we'll have to call it quits. We're already 11 minutes over. Plenty of updates today.
And if I had the task of summarizing everything that was talked about, I would have to go almost another. I would have to have another town hall, because it's been pretty massive. So you've heard plenty of connectivity updates for all major OTAs. There are some that we didn't talk about, but that's, as Andrew said, that's because we're still harassing them directly on their inbox, and hopefully we get a pleasant and satisfactory answer. You've heard the word private pilot probably mentioned 4 times, and as per person, I probably stuttered it 15 times. So that obviously makes it completely different. You got to see Sam, and so it's great to see Sam. It's great when he shows up here, and hopefully you will be able to see him a little bit more during the summer. His team is growing. We're going to we have a plan on having a team of 21 engineers, 22 if Nick is having his way. Well. For building really a mighty and powerful engineering team that's able to achieve an extremely buzzy roadmap with just entire product line supported by around 3 engineers, which we believe is always a right number of engineers to be working on internally. And yeah, plenty of things on direct. So now we can take bookings of incredible amounts, doing so very easily for the guests, for the host. And yeah, and there's just a goddamn lot. And we're in July, we're not taking any vacations, even though some of us are Europeans. Okay, fantastic. And see you in 2 weeks. And have a fantastic time. You get to enjoy a bit of summer.